Well, this is our fourth day on Pause on Purpose when we're talking about going through life storms and finding courage during life storms. We've joined the Apostle Paul and some 200 people on a ship that is facing a northeasterner, if you will, on the Mediterranean, and they are all but doomed. And we've learned the three anchors that we need to cast when we're facing the storms of life. And Paul's right about to show us the fourth one. But before we do, go back and review everything. If this is the first day you've tuned in, go back and review everything. And then subscribe down below, if you will, and that way you'll get these videos right away. You won't have to wait until they come through an email. And then if you would, share it with someone. Share it with someone. Like it and share it with someone who is going through a storm of life. How about that? So today's Pause on Purpose, we're talking about the final anchor. And in this final anchor, we'll just give it right off the bat. And that is when the storms crash your boat, right? When the storms crash your boat, we need to trust the very God who pulled us into the storm will bring us out of the storm. That's the anchor of reality. When our boats are crashed by the storm, we need to cast the anchor of reality. How? By trusting the very God who brought us into the storm is the very God who will bring us out of the storm. My Bible's open to Acts chapter 27, and they're in the final verses here, starting in verse 37. And here we see the Apostle Paul, and that after they got done eating, the morning dawned, verse 39. They didn't recognize the coastline, but they saw a bay with a beach and wondered if they could get to the shore by running the ship into the beach. So verse 40, so they cut off the anchors and left them in the sea. So they're cashing in all their chips right now, and they're going to go, you know what? It's worth sacrificing the ship if we can head for the beach. Everybody can be saved, and we can get out of this big mess. Then they lowered the rudders. In other words, the rudders were pulled up so that the storm would just take the ship. So they lowered the rudders and they raised a foresail and headed towards the shore, but they hit a shoal. And another translation says they hit a sandbar where two seas come together. That's a shoal. And they ran the ship aground too soon. There was still ocean between where they were at and the beach. The bow of the ship stuck fast right into the shoal, while the stern was repeatedly smashed by the force of the waves and began to break apart. The soldiers wanted to kill the prisoners to make sure they didn't swim ashore and escape. So the soldiers have their agenda. But the commanding officer wanted to spare Paul, so he didn't let them carry out their plan. So you got the sailors doing their thing, trying to get the ship into the beach. That didn't work. You got the soldiers trying to kill all the prisoners. Well, that didn't work because the centurion and the lead commander said, you're not going to do that. We want to keep Paul alive. So he ordered all who could swim to jump into the ocean and make a swim for it to the beach. And those that couldn't would grab a piece of wood or a piece of debris off the ship and float into the beach, safe and sound. Then notice this in verse 44, right at the end. So everyone escaped safely to shore. Wow, where have we heard that before? It sounds like day one, when Paul said, hey, you should have listened to me. Remember he said that? But he also said, look, God spoke to me, and we will all make it through if you just trust him. And that's the anchor of reality, folks. The anchor of reality is cast when we believe that the God who brought us into the storm is the very God who will take us out safely, out of the storm. And that's a promise that we can take to God right from the text here in the book of Acts. The 4 anchors, we're going to review them tomorrow, but today, if you feel like you're coming out of the storm, cast that anchor of reality and realize all hope's not lost. Even though the ship is a complete loss, the God that brought you into the storm is the very God that's going to bring you out of the storm. You can count on it, beloved. You can trust him. Lean into him. He's got you. He's the one that's going to carry you ashore. And don't look back. That ship is gone. I don't know what it is in your life, but there's a ship that God is trying to get out of your way so you can trust him fully. Do it today and go with God because he goes with you.